Welcome to Lunch with Legacy Leaders, a weekly talk show with local and national thought leaders on issues impacting the Black community. Now introducing our host, Miss Ann Marie Sorrell.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Lunch with Legacy Leaders. I am your host, Ann Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us this afternoon. Before we get started with our broadcast, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Broward Health, AARP, the Florida Lottery, and the African American Black Alzheimer's Disease Initiative at the John P. Hussman Institute for Human Genomics, University of Miami, Miller School of Medicine. If you or someone you know is experiencing loss of memory or memory problems, please contact their research team for more information at 877-686-6444. Now, today we have another special guest who has a very interesting career. I'd like to welcome Ms. Christina Lucas, who's the president of Envista Forensics. Welcome, Christina.
Hi, Ann Marie. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. Very interesting topic. But before I dive right into our conversation, I want to formally introduce you to our audience by just going through your brief bio.
Okay.
Christina Lucas is the president of Envista Forensics, a global provider of forensic consulting services to the insurance claims and legal sectors. Rooted in a commitment to provide turnkey and innovative consulting solutions, the Envista team comprises of over 500 team members located in offices through the Americas, EMEA, and Asia Pacific regions. Prior to joining Envista, Ms. Lucas was the site leader and general manager of AIG Bulgaria, where she played an integral role in the division's transformation and selection as 2019 Employer of the Year. During her tenure at AIG, Christina also held key leadership roles within the organization's global claims performance team, Latin America, Caribbean operations, and Asia Pacific operations. She has also held leadership roles at Deloitte and Booz Allen Hamilton, where she gained a diverse industry experience from energy and telecommunications to housing, automotive, and the public sector. Christina holds a master's degree in information technology from American Intercontinental University and a bachelor's of arts in economics from Georgetown University. Passionate about her local communities, Ms. Lucas sits on several boards, including Simmons College of Kentucky, the Miami Rescue Mission, and the Perez Art Museum in Miami. So welcome again, Christina.
Thank you. Like I said, it's an honor really to be here. I've been involved with Legacy Miami for several years now, and such a great organization, and really highlights the talent that we have in South Florida across so many different sectors. So it's great to be part of this, and great really to be featured with you, Ann Marie, for once. That's my seat at your table for this lunchtime.
Well, welcome. So, the bio is amazing, but I really don't think it tells the whole story, right? So in your words, because you're in a very interesting industry that's usually male dominant, right? And white male dominant. So in your words, can you share your journey on how you got into the field of your personal story of how you got into the field of forensic engineering and just the work that you've been doing around the world?
No, absolutely. And I don't have a typical background. I'm not an engineer, as you can tell from my bio. My background was really in economics, ended up going into IT a bit. But I really enjoyed working with people. And I realized that I liked the technical side of it. I liked problem solving, and I find speaking multiple languages and also software development, like those languages too, as a way to do structured problem solving and to help communicate those problems to people and to work with people to develop solutions. So I was in consulting for about 15 years and was kind of looking for something different. And about 10 years ago, AIG had reached out to me to lead up kind of a new startup group that they had for Latin America, based here in Miami. And so kind of was up for the challenge of kind of getting out of consulting and working in industry. I knew nothing about insurance, but I guess my boss who hired me thought he could teach me that. But at least the other skills that I brought to the table around, really having a background that spanned multiple cultures, in particular Latin America for this case, working with other industries, would be able to apply to the insurance space for AIG. And so I kind of fell into it as a great opportunity to move to Miami and learn something new and take on new challenges. And I had a really great kind of first year in my role and kind of hit the mark on all the things that I was supposed to do as far as kind of developing, a new program of work and rolling those out and starting to realize the benefits from that. And so I said, hey, it's my 1-year review. What's next? And my boss said, hey, what about moving to Tokyo and doing the same thing in Asia? And I thought, wow, I never even thought about living in Asia. But I was intrigued by it. And so I said, you know what? My mom always said, never say no. If it looks like something you want to try, do it. If it doesn't work, come home. And I've never been home, never come back home from any of these types of jobs. So it was just a great kind of unique opportunity to be in Japan, and in particular, being a Black woman in Japan in a culture that's very homogenous, very kind of steeped in tradition, and a completely different way of working. And I think that kind of mentally was a great challenge for me to work in that environment and see how I could work across the culture that was completely different from mine, kind of with a background in history and a way of doing business that was different than what I had grown up in or even what I had studied or learned. So that was kind of a great opportunity there to be in Asia, move back to the US, held various jobs across the insurance space at my company, both in underwriting and distribution and sales side of the house. But I was really intrigued by the overseas journey again. And so I ended up moving to Bulgaria, which most people say, where is that on the map? So I'll do a demo later. But I moved to Bulgaria, and it was supposed to be a temporary job, and it ended up being lasting for several years. And I just really enjoyed working with the people, kind of being on site, on the ground with the team, similar size, about 500 professionals there. And I really enjoyed in that general manager role of seeing how to elevate an organization from the talent development side of the house, how to really invest and empower in people in that space. And then as our employees are their best selves, they're going to give their best to our customers. And then you should see an elevation in that customer experience across the way. And as that customer experience is elevated, of course, it's more profitable, right? People are more productive, and it pays to the bottom line. And it was really an opportunity, I'll say, an experiment, a controlled experiment, to see how you can really focus on investing in people to end up with the best results for profitability, instead of just focusing on profitability and leaving people behind. And I really enjoyed that and look forward to that opportunity to be able to do that again. And so when I came back to the US, I was really looking for, how do I really pivot myself into really being a president or CEO of an organization and not kind of the president of a subdivision of an organization. And so when the opportunity came to join Envista last year, it was kind of hit all the marks. It was in the insurance space. I'd been in, with AIG for about, 9 years at that point, mostly in the claim space, and Envista Forensic is engineering consulting, predominantly in the claim space, working with insurance carriers. And it had a global reach, and my background is working, across, different continents. And Envista has that footprint on a global scale across the world. And so that also kind of checked the box for me too. So it had a great reputation, and I thought, I could really bring what I had learned in my previous role around investing in the talent to really empower us to move our business forward. And fortunately, I was able to take on the opportunity to become president.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
For the
It still
journey.
seems new.
So I know you touched a little bit on Envista, but can you go into a little more detail on what exactly it is that you guys do?
Yeah, and I think it's really fascinating. So you talked about forensic engineering. I said, I'm not an engineer at all. I'm a business person and kind of able to solve problems, but the engineers that I work with are some of the world's most brilliant people. And so it's really my job to help them to elevate their skill set and elevate what they can contribute to their clients, wearing my former client hat. But the work that the team does is of a mix of kind of mechanical, electrical, civil, structural, fire investigators, and building consultants who are really helping either an insurance company kind of understand the cause and origin of loss, or we work with attorneys, civil or criminal defense attorneys to help them with the litigation that they have. And so it's really that intersection. We're that neutral third party, that comes in and says, the reason why this bridge collapsed was because of the design of it, or because of materials, or it was because of the weather conditions at the time, or the reason why this, roof collapse was, these same different parameters. And so we kind of give that individual, that report off to the carrier or to the defense attorneys, and that could be used in court. It could be used to settle a claim out of court. That's kind of out of our hands at that point. But a really fascinating area because it kind of takes what's traditional design engineering, and it's really that, people often think when they hear forensic CSI, kind of problem solving and understanding the cause of loss. It's the same thing, but using it with kind of buildings and other physical assets and understanding what went wrong with that physical asset.
No, that's very interesting. So why don't we have our audience take a first look at what you do by the video that's been provided.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if we're getting sound.
Yeah, the sound is coming through.
Yeah, let's see if we can try that again with some audio this time.
There we go.
Our company is a global forensic consulting company with offices on 4 continents and more than 50 locations throughout North America. We provide technical expertise for companies and people after bad things happen to them. We provide failure analysis, fire and explosion investigations, digital forensics, cyber investigations, accident reconstruction, building consulting, damage evaluation, and equipment restoration services following disasters of all kinds.
We were founded on innovation. The very service we deliver today, we will work to improve upon for tomorrow. Since 1984, our company has provided forensic engineering and recovery solution services with exceptional customer service in every region of the world and across every industry sector. We are dependent on each and every day.
As a company, we invest in our employees. That's why our new engineers and experts have their choice to design their career path towards becoming a manager, a subject matter expert, or a large loss consultant.
Our projects can be very complex, and sometimes they require a specialist with a specific skill set, like a metallurgist, a plastics expert, or someone experienced in the aircraft and petroleum industries.
Through AREPA, our equipment decontamination and reinspection group, we provide a hands-on solution to help bring businesses back online after a disaster. We restore commercial equipment, machinery, and electronics for a fraction of the cost and time it will take for full replacement. Our global team of specialists is prepared to respond at any time and any place.
I'm fortunate to have worked in this industry for many years, and I truly love what I do. A lot goes into a commercial restoration project, but no matter the incident or how complex, if we restored our customers' confidence in their equipment and brought their business back into operations, we've accomplished our goal.
So in our company, we have the capability of handling losses of any type and size. Most importantly, though, we have a set of values that serve as our foundation for our future. We believe in our employees, and we are one global team, creating trust and certainty to get you back on your feet and moving forward.
All right. Thank you, Ann Marie, for letting us show the video. So it kind of gives a glimpse of really the diversity of the type of work that's done across really all sectors and all parts of the world. So it's really a fascinating business. And on a personal level, I have a mission around how do we get more people of color, and actually women, into this exciting area that just opens up career opportunities and a path that we traditionally don't think about.
No, absolutely. So tell us just a little bit briefly about your role as president, and, especially, number one, first of all, you were very intentional with you, like you said, you decided I want to become president of a company and not just of a division. So tell us about your role as president, and how has this landscape in your industry and company changed as it relates to women in leadership and women of color in leadership?
My role as president, it's really a jack of all trades. And you're a CEO of a company as well. So I really see my role as how do I help our talent kind of be the best that they can be. So really elevating the talent, looking at ways that might hinder them from being as efficient or effective as they can be, whether it's doing something internal to the company or working with our clients. And then separately, it's helping our clients to understand our value proposition and what we can contribute to them, and how we can really be their business partner through their time of need, through a complex or large loss that they're impacted by. Now, that being said, that goes from everything to, talent development or performance management, our bonus structure, the incentives that are there, our operational effectiveness, our IT system, making sure that the lights are on. So as president, you kind of have all of those responsibilities. You really are a true generalist. And I say that because I think some people think that you have to be an engineer to run an engineering company, or whatever that discipline is to run that type of program or service. But it's really having those generalist skills, understanding how all the pieces come together as a whole, and kind of using your business acumen or your street smarts at times to be able to get stuff done and to be able to eliminate as much friction as there could be within an organization, and helping all of those parts really come together and work together effectively. So I kind of wear all hats as a president of the company, but that's what I really enjoy. I really enjoy that no day is the same, and that the business challenges that arise are so varied and different. And it's that challenge of how do I help our organization, really support our organization in going from where we are today to really the full potential that we could be long term.
Absolutely. And then the landscape, how you alluded to wanting to have more women, and particularly women of color, excel in the industry. How has the landscape changed in your opinion, or is it changing in your opinion?
I mean, it's very incremental. And so, I came from, a company that was, very male dominated, very few women in leadership positions. Really fortunate to be able to, take on this role. But if I look across the landscape, around engineering companies, there's probably very few, Black women or even women who lead up engineering consulting companies. I won't say there's none, but I'm still, it's a very small number, probably counting on your hands. And even if you look across the insurance space, increasingly you have more and more women in leadership roles, very few kind of leading up into insurance service type company. So it's a small space, but I feel like as my job as president of Envista, it's how do we really create more opportunities for people to follow that path, right? To see that there is a path, even if you don't have that technical background, and that many of the skills that we have as women, and as leaders in general are transferable, no matter what the industry is.
Absolutely. Now, what percentage do you think, what percentage do you think is represented of women in the industry, just off, if you have that off the top of your head? And Black women.
I did a little research, and you don't have clear cut data, but I think in 2019, about 13% of engineering graduates were women. So have a very small number of women graduating in engineering fields. And I think that same year, the number of Black women engineering graduates was 1%. So kind of look at the funnel of not many women are going into engineering. And then, if you look at, Black women or the women of color, it's a very small number there. It's interesting. I saw some other stats that said 32%, I think, of women who start engineering programs in undergrad actually change their major while they're in school. So you've kind of got the funnel, women interested in STEM, in engineering, going into engineering programs in college, really not finding the support that they need or not seeing themselves in that space and opting to switch to a different major. And then if you look, long-term career-wise, there's only about 30% of those female engineering graduates who are still in the engineering arena 20 years later. So you have further drop-off, career-wise with this great engineering talent who deciding to take careers in other areas. And I think out of that, another 30% of those women who've dropped out have said that they left the engineering space because they didn't feel supported by their organization. They felt that there were limited opportunities there. And so they kind of opted out of that sector to go to another sector that they felt were friendlier to them. I'll do on the flip side, if you think about really the innovation and that comes from really diversity of thought, engineering is all around peer reviews. You have an assessment that's done, on a loss that occurs, and engineers test each other. They pressure test each other to say like, hey, can you review this report and just give me a broad perspective and give me to make sure that I'm coming up with the right assessment. So you kind of have two people looking at every report that goes out at least to make sure that it's the right decision. And so I'll broaden that around kind of diversity of thought. You want to have opposing viewpoints and different viewpoints at the table to make sure that the outcome from a discussion, right, is going to be broad-based, take in different perspectives, and it's going to give you the best outcome. And if our table is kind of getting smaller and smaller with, people of diverse viewpoints not continuing on with an engineering education or a STEM education, or dropping out of the field as they get more senior in the organization, we're losing out, as a society around having those different viewpoints and different perspectives and making sure that we're kind of looking at business problems in a very 360 view. I also saw, I just want to share one other data point. I read something that was really interesting. It said that between 1870 and 1940, the number of patents that came out from Black inventors and white inventors was the same, right? And so you had, after the Civil War, just this thought leadership that came out, and there was a high productivity of really Black innovation during the early part of the 20th century. And then when the Jim Crow laws came into being, when that suppression of thought and suppression of diversity of ideas and less access to kind of diverse views, in the boardroom or in companies or kind of in industry, that the number of patents decreased significantly, right? And it was a very nominal number, since really the 1940s, where you have Black innovation and Black patents, as a marker for that. So I say that because some people say like, oh, well, there's not a propensity for, technical careers or engineering careers in certain demographics of people. The ideas aren't there. And I think the ideas are there. There's propensity to do it, but it's more around the opportunity to be able to have the education, to get a viewpoint heard, to get the voices on the table, and to make those investments in people so that they can really contribute, to make our society, even better with greater products and services.
No, and I like that you brought that, especially that last statistic into play, because, I'm always thinking like, where are our innovative inventors? And I think if our, generations that are coming behind us understood the history when it comes to innovation and technology. And I think a lot of times technology gets confused with just coding and online technology and not necessarily actually creating devices and machineries and things like that we've, long done historically. So I'm glad you brought that point. I think that if we, lead into my next question for you, I think that if we're inspiring young people to look at innovation in a way of of how generations before have innovated and created everything from, the cotton engine. Yeah, you may not need a cotton engine today per se in that format, but what is the same type today? Or if you're looking in civil engineering, civil construction, infrastructure, what are those types of equipments and things and automations or technology that can be developed around that area? So I'm glad you made that point. And with that, how do we get, and I know you're involved in the community and working with young people in STEM. So how do we get more young people, girls, but, children of color, graduates, high school and college students involved in STEM and engineering?
No, I think it's a really good leeway. And I was just looking at the title, really, legacy, right? Legacy leaders. And part of that is for us to understand what our legacy is, the contributions that we brought over the last couple hundred years, right? To America, and of course, for Black people who are in other countries around the world. And it's really understanding the legacy and the contributions that we've made today and how we can continue to build upon that. And so for each of us who are in a position to do so, it's how do we lend a hand and kind of pay it forward? There are people ahead of me that gave me opportunities that probably wasn't ready for, but they saw something in me and gave me that opportunity to take on a responsibility that I would never have even dreamed of, or that wasn't even on my radar, like moving to Tokyo, And so how can I make those opportunities available for others as well? And one, I think, kind of frankly sharing my story, that I don't have a technical background, but these are the kind of things that I do bring to the table, and showing how I can bring my skill set to the table, and that I do have something to contribute even to the engineering space. And likewise, having my other peer executives, do the same. So it's making the time, talking to the kids, being a mentor, being a coach, helping people get that first job, looking for those internships to get the hands-on experience so they can start to build their credentials. Also just giving people, even if we don't have a direct reporting line with somebody within an organization, if you see, if you see something, say something, like they say for New York Subway, but helping even unofficially to give feedback to kind of a young child of color or a young professional of color. Because oftentimes what happens also when we're in corporate America is that we're not getting the frank feedback around what we could do better, or how we can better position ourselves, or what's the next step on the career journey. So even before this role, kind of seeing young people in the company sharing like, hey, you should really do this, you should do that. This is how you really get here, so that they have that guidepost to move forward in their career. Oftentimes we're the first generation college students, or kind of the first generation in an industry, and recognizing that there's many other, children and young professionals behind us who are also first generation. And so how can we be their, their corporate, aunts and uncles and help making sure that they're moving along the way as well, and that they're going to be successful.
Well, and do you consider that type of engagement a form of mentorship? And do you have any mentors? And how do you find your mentors? For those who may say, I'm looking for a mentor, how do I find a mentor?
I mean, likewise, I probably have the same challenge as a lot of people. I didn't have really formal mentors. A lot of the people more senior than me didn't look like me, and statistically, people tend to mentor people who are similar. So I have been very intentional and say, I admire this quality in this person, and asking that person like, hey, can I talk to you more about X, And I found that when I've reached out to people with a specific topic, people have been more than happy to kind of share their experience with me. So I've never met anyone who said no. But to have somebody who was the same person, year after year, to help me kind of step by step and plan out my roadmap, I haven't had. So for me, one thing I've been doing is doing that with other people, kind of being that sounding board and providing my insights or my perspective to help give that continuity to others. But I'd also say, for us to be mentors, proactively doing it, to individuals, or as I said, even kind of informally just giving, really constructive feedback for our people, so that they really know like what's the best path forward and how they can navigate that, and to help ensure their success.
Awesome. No, absolutely. So I know we're running short on time. Do you have maybe 3 golden nuggets that you can share with our listeners, and particularly women and girls who aspire to become a president or a major player in a male-dominated industry?
So don't listen to the negative things other people say. You know, want to listen to it constructively and take feedback where it's needed. But also, if someone says you can't do it, you really can. And if you know that you've got the qualities and credentials, have that confidence in yourself to be able to move forward in that path. I'd say, be fearless. I took a lot of risk around leaving the country and moving overseas and taking on different responsibilities. Those opened up new doors for me to use different skill sets, learn different ways of doing business, problem solving. But it was really me being fearless of not leaving kind of the nest and not leaving, staying in my comfort zone and getting out of that comfort zone so I could grow. And then I think there's also just this, have a curiosity. If there's new things that are out there, just be curious. I'm one of those people who used to stay in the library when we used to have libraries. I don't know if they still exist, and go through just all these books. But now also just being, a sponge for new information, because sometimes things that I find that are helpful for our engineering company are things that I might see in the consumer products industry, something that Amazon is doing or another sector. So don't be so narrowly focused in what your area of discipline is, that you kind of miss out on maybe broader trends that are happening in the industry that could really help you be innovative and groundbreaking in what you're doing, but maybe kind of status quo in another adjacency. So I would say those would be the 3 things that I'd recommend to others. And don't be afraid to reach out to others and ask for help. Say, hey, I'd really like to learn this from you because you do it really well.
No, absolutely. Those are all great nuggets. Now, you speak 5 languages. Did you learn all those languages hanging out in the library?
Actually, some early ones, yes, but I really like talking with people. So that was kind of key for me to be able to do that. Plus, I think it's a good brain exercise too. So
what are the 5 languages?
So my first language is German, and then Spanish and Portuguese later, then French, Italian.
Nice. Well, I'm going to Italy. I'm like, Christina, you want to roll
Yes,
absolutely. when we're allowed to travel like normal again.
It's coming. I know it.
So how does our audience reach you? If someone wants to connect with you or connect with your organization, what's the best way for them to reach you?
So 2 ways, I'm on LinkedIn. So Christina Lucas, look up Envista Forensic. You can find me on LinkedIn. And the other one, my email is christina.lucas@envistaforensics.com. So those would be the 2 best ways to reach out. But looking forward to hearing from people, both, seasoned professionals, but also if there's any young folks who are watching this, would love to connect and kind of hear where you are in your journey and how I can help.
Well, I'm definitely going to invite you, Girls to Women. I'm the president of Girls to Women. We're a nonprofit mentoring group, and we're doing our career day on April 22nd. It will be virtual, and we are looking for women like yourself who, just have these unique and amazing careers, to just really come and give some insight to our girls. So I'll send you an email, and hopefully you're available.
Would love to. No, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, everyone that's tuned in, please make sure you check out Miss Christina. She has shared so much information here today. I hope that there is a girl or woman or man out there that's inspired by what she shared here today. And please share this video with others. I'm sure there are others who need to hear this, and share with a young person, share with a college student, share with a high school, middle school student who's thinking about career opportunities and options, so that they can get inspired and see that there are so many other opportunities out there for them. And thank you so much again. We're going to do a few quick announcements, so just stay with us for a minute, Christina. Awesome. So thank you again to our sponsors, Broward Health, AARP, the Florida Lottery, and the African American Black Alzheimer's Disease Initiative at the John P. Hussman Institute for Human Genomics, University of Miami, Miller School of Medicine. Please continue to check out everything that's happening with miamediagroup.com. Also, if you have not subscribed to our newsletter, please do so you can get our weekly updates. Next week's guest will be joined by Mr. Newton Sanan, president of OIC. And also remember to tune in to our show Soul, hosted by Miss Nikki Jellin every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. as we disseminate intellectual entertainment on fashion, arts and culture, relationships, mental health, and food in South Florida. Please share this video. Make sure you mark your calendars and join us again next Thursday at noon.
Thank you so much, Ann Marie. You have a good one.
Thank you. You too.